coming up on today's episode.
And what we say to owners who are auctioning, don't set your reserve, listen to the market. This is what the most comparable sales are like. And we can use a 10% range. You're typically going to find more than 10%. But how I do is suggest them, look, it's a movable range. You don't have to sell in that range. Let's do this. We've got comparable sales between 7 and 800,000. Let's start on the conservative side. Let's say 7 to 750.
Yep. Dodgy advice and bad decisions can cost you big in real estate. We're here to make sure that that doesn't happen. Welcome to the No BS Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Agresta, and it's time to take control of your property journey together. Welcome back, everyone, to the No BS Real Estate Podcast, your listening how-to guide to the Aussie finance and real estate market. I'm your host, Joe Agresta. Now, today, I'm joined by Paul Cunnington from Bell Property, who works across the Mornington Peninsula, including areas like Rosebud, Macrae, Mornington, Safety Beach, Blairgowrie and Sorrento. Paul has been in real estate since 2010, and today we're talking about something every seller needs to understand before they put their home on the market. How do you actually choose the right real estate agent? Because most sellers start in the same place. They go online, you start looking at profiles, check out what their home might be worth, even for your property. You'll start comparing, you'll look at recent sales. And then you'll start reading reviews on different agents. You'll start to look at probably My Local Agent Finder, all these platforms, and you base your decisions on that kind of rating. So we've got different angles. We've got different agents telling you different prices, different strategies, different methods of selling, and it can all be overwhelming. So today we're going to break down what sellers should actually look for, what comparison websites do and don't tell you, how to assess agents properly, and why the cheapest fee or the biggest promised sale price might not be the smartest way to choose your agent. So without further ado, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. This already started off cracking, right? You got here and you started to tell me a story and I'm like, wait. We want to talk about it on the podcast. Yeah. So I'm going to hold back because we need to start with your background. But okay. I loved when we first met and had our conversation because you just brought such a rawness and a realness that's really refreshing to, real estate. And we started in the industry in 2010, same time.
Same year, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I understand what you've seen and you've probably seen a lot now too because you stayed in it longer than me.
Yeah, well, a lot of people get out of it pretty quickly, but it's an effort to stay in it. You've got to be all in.
Especially with times that we're living through at the moment with different announcements, but it's peaks and troughs.
Look, there's always events that affect the market. You think back to COVID, you think back to the global financial meltdown, go back to the Iraq wars. They always hit the market. It always comes back. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So this is just an event that's correcting the market.
I love your perspective on that because it's a correction.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, we're going to get into all of this today, especially with how to choose the right agent. I feel like this is so on trend at the moment that people who want to sell are always typically floating around that. Oh, well, they promised me that they could get, 1.5 and that's what I'm choosing my agent on. And then you see that property as an agent go on market for 2 months and then 3 and then 4 and then 5. And you're
I'll
like,
tell you about my story in a minute. What just happened?
This is exactly what I want to lead into. So Tell us a little bit about this, right? Because why is that promise sometimes the worst thing that can happen? And give us that example.
No, it's good. Look, selling a house is a huge decision. Doesn't matter if it's investment property or your home, especially if it's your home. And you think about the reasons why. You buy a house, you move in, you lock yourself into a 20 or 30-year mortgage. You're paying every month. You're working hard, you're sacrificing, and at the end, you get to own that property. And it's a great achievement. I mean, I think it's hard to pay off a property this day and age, especially, and congratulations to everybody who does it. And then after all that effort, you think people say, well, we'll just go with the cheapest agent. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm somebody who believes you get what you pay for in life, and the cheapest option is rarely the best. I found that out the hard way on a number of occasions with different things. So that'd be my first point is beware the agent that comes in and tells you, I'll do it, cheap commission, cheap advertising, and I'll get you a great price. That should automatically raise some red flags there because if it was that easy, you could do it yourself.
Well, this is the thing, right? And traditionally, we have not done it ourselves. There are so many platforms that obviously say you can do it yourself. There's an interesting guy that I saw on TikTok. He came up on my feed and I just thought he's documenting his experience selling his own property. And all I keep seeing is the work that he's doing. He's paying money for the marketing on realestate.com. He's found out how expensive that is. He's now putting his property on the market, and he's basically being his own real estate agent and brokering his deal through socials, right?
Yeah.
He still hasn't sold his property. It's been about 6 months. And for me, I'm like, well, this is what you pay the right professional to do. You shouldn't be sitting there for 6 months. And this is exactly that choice and that difference we're going to talk about.
You're correct. I mean, I think there's a perception out there that real estate agents, all they do is put an ad online, put a board up, and then wait for the orders to come in. It's not as simple as that. It's just not, especially at the moment. It's negotiation, it's the experience, it's finding the right buyer, giving the owner the right information from the start, rather than what you said about promising a huge price that you know is going to be unachievable. That's a waste of everyone's time. So, I mean, I've been thinking about it since we know we're going to talk about this topic, and I think that when you're looking for a professional, whether it be real estate or anything, you're looking for two things. It's probably their capability and experience, and that can be easily demonstrated. You can see how long they've been in the industry, what awards they've got, their sales, that you can find out pretty easily. The other one that's a bit more tricky is trust. It's a big decision, and you want to be able to trust the person.
Yeah.
Now, for me, trust is something that you build up over time.
Yeah.
You need time to interact with the person, observe them, understand them before you can say, yes, I trust that person. Selling a house, you probably bought a new house and need to get yours on the market, or you're going to buy and you want to sell, but you're making that decision in a relatively short period of time. So you're at a bit of a disadvantage because unless you know an agent already, you're probably trying to ascertain who do you trust in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So I think there's a pretty straightforward 3-step process that anyone can do.
Ooh. I like steps.
Yeah, well, I actually thought about this, and I've given them names as well, just for the podcast.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, if you follow a process, I think you may not trust that person 100% with your life and your bank account details, and that's fair enough. But at least you could feel that you've made the right decision, knowing that you've done what you can. So I've given them names. It's all around investigation. So online investigation, covert investigation, and in-person investigation.
Ooh. So I can't wait to crack into that.
I've put a bit of thought into this.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Our listeners are going to appreciate it.
Yeah, so online investigation first. So if I was selling a house, let's say I've got a 3-bedroom house and I think I'm going to get around $1 million. The first thing I'd do is go to the main platforms, domain, realestate.com, go to the sold page, punch in your suburb, hit search. I'd then filter it to look for the same type of properties. I wouldn't go to the agents that necessarily sold the most amount of properties, because you might see an agent who sold a lot of properties, but they might be cheap apartments when you're selling a $1 million home. Probably not going to be the right person. So filter it, 3 and 4 bedroom homes sold between, say, 800 and 1.2. That'll take you about 30 seconds. And you'll get a list of agents there, and you can pretty clearly see then, okay, who sold what. You can see their results, how many they've sold, etc. And you can shortlist pretty easily a number of agents. I'd suggest 3. You can do more if you want, but it's just going to add more work. I think 3 is a good starting point.
Agreed.
So as I said, that would take you 30 seconds to get the list and probably 5 minutes to look through and choose who you want to meet with. And what you're looking for is, who are the 3 agents that logically look like they're going to be able to sell my home? Sold things similar, etc. Right. That's step 1 done. Pretty easy. You've got your 3 agents. Step 2, covert investigation. This is what people don't do, and I think it's the most important part.
Okay.
You've shortlisted 3 agents based on their online profile, and you might have Googled their reviews and things, and that's great. Understand, online profiles are pretty easy to create, and nobody's going to put down anything negative about themselves. So
I'm just going to say, I've never seen a negative review for a real estate agent unless it's been like some sort of Facebook forum or Reddit forum.
Yeah. Well, occasionally you get ones where you think you've done a great job and they still give you an average review, and I've had it happen to me, but if somebody questions on me, I can explain why that's happened or why I felt it's happened. So it still happens. But the online profile that's created is created by the agent. You can make an online profile look any way you want. So I wouldn't be basing your trust just on an online profile. That's why covert investigation. And what that is, what you're trying to do is to ascertain what type of experience and follow-up and service a potential buyer at your house is going to receive should you choose to appoint that agent. The only way you can do that is by going and seeing them. So I've got my 3 agents. I'd probably pick 1 or 2 Saturdays, find out where their opens are going to be, and I'd go to their opens.
I love it.
Okay. So, and this might be a bit more in depth than what many people want to do, but this is what I'd do. First of all, if the open was 12 to 12:30, I'd arrive at 5 to 12 and sit outside and observe. I'd be looking there to see, okay, is the agent on time? As by 12 o'clock, Are they at the door with the lights on and the boards out, ready to go? Or are they
flying in
2 minutes to 12, scrambling, saying, look, go in, have a look. I'll come and get your names once I've got the lights on and things. That's going to show you a bit about their organisation level, which I think is important. Next, you check that the agent that you're going to inspect is actually at the property. What a lot of people don't understand, and this especially happens if you're listing with a director of a company or an agent that's busy and has 1 or 2 PAs, you might list with them, but they might delegate your property to somebody else, and you might have somebody you've not even known running the campaign for you. So it'd be important for me that if I was selecting an agent and giving them the responsibility to sell my house, I want them at the door. I want them doing the negotiations. I don't want somebody that I don't know there or a personal assistant who's probably just in the industry sort of thing. Once you get there, everyone's going to ask for your name, number, and give you a brochure. What else do? Do they dig a bit deeper? I think that good agents sort of try and find out more about the buyers so they can overcome any objections, match them with the right home, build up a bit of rapport with them. So ask them, are you ready to buy? What is it you're looking for? What's important to you, etc. All these sorts of things. I'd probably ask the agents a few basic questions about the property and the area. Things like, how old is it? What's the heating and cooling? What school zone we're in? Can you subdivide? Things like this. You'd find out then, has the agent just shown up unprepared, or have they done a bit of research and know about the area and know a bit about the house? Shows that they've done a bit of research on it as well. If you're planning to auction, I would probably try and go to one of those agents' auctions to see how they perform. I think that it's always best if the agent is also the auctioneer. That's because they meet the buyers, they build up a rapport with them, they get to know them. You can, as an auctioneer, I feel I can leverage that on auction day. So
100%.
Like, you told me you like the house because you can see the kids in the backyard while you're cooking dinner. What else have you got? Isn't it worth another $5,000? So you can leverage those sort of things by what you find out along the way. Whereas an auctioneer that shows up on the day, you were unlikely to have met them before the day. And so you'd want to go and see them and see, are you comfortable with that person conducting the auction? So that may not be possible, but it would be good if you could. Lastly, and probably most importantly, when you leave, what sort of follow-up do you get from that agent? Do they call or text you the Saturday or by the Monday to find out if you're interested, offer another inspection, answer any questions you've got, suggest another property if that's not the one for you, or do you not hear from them? Now, if you haven't heard from the agent, I probably wouldn't even bother calling them in because they're not doing the follow-up. They're not being proactive. I think that's what you get an agent to do. So then I think if I'd gone through that process and I'd selected 3 agents, I guarantee after going through and inspecting them, I would have ruled out one, sure, because they haven't impressed me. And I'd probably settle on 2. And there might be one there that I think, wow, he or she's really great. And that's likely the person I'm going to list with. I wouldn't be listing with them straight away. I'd still be calling 2 in to meet with. Okay, so that's covert, or what I call covert investigation. Don't show up and say to the agent, I'm got a house to sell, or I'm checking out agents, because if they find out you've got a house to sell, they'll be all over you with service, and you would have blown your cover. You'll get a distorted opinion. So just as a heads up there.
You'll start to get the service that
correct.
It's service of a lifetime.
Correct. Exactly. So what you're trying to do is find out real life what that agent's like performing in real life without them knowing what you're doing.
It's like you're a buyer.
Exactly. That's likely what a buyer at your property is going to receive. So that's the covert investigation. Now, that does take a bit more time and a bit more effort, but I think it's really important because then you've got more information on who you're comfortable with in appointing to sell your home or property. Next is in-person investigation. So that's basically appraisal or listing appointment, whatever you want to call it. The goal there is that you want to find out the agent's plan and strategy on how they would go about selling your house or property and making sure you're comfortable with it. Every owner is going to want to know 4 things at that appointment. You're going to know what's the likely sale price, what's the best sale method, what's it going to cost me in marketing, and what are your fees? And they're all valid questions.
They are very
should be
valid.
asked. And absolutely. There's a 5th one that people probably don't know to ask.
Okay.
What's your process in selling a home? Okay. Understand when an agent's coming out to see you at your house, that's a job interview for them. It's game day. Their shoes are polished. They've got their best suit on. They're smiling. They've done 1,000 of these. They're well scripted. They know exactly how they want that conversation to go.
Yeah.
And they know how to avoid topics that they don't necessarily want to discuss with you. So I'll come to the process in a moment, but let me go through the first ones, or the first four. Sale price, right. They come out there to give you an appraisal. Now, for me, an appraisal price is not what your home is going to sell for. It's just what the most similar homes have sold for. So if you have an agent coming and telling you a price, I would ask them to justify how they've come up with that price. Show me the comparable sales you've based that on. Now, if they can show you 3 or 4 comparable homes that make sense, that's right. But if they come up with a high price and they say, look, here's a comparable sale, and that home's brand new and has a swimming pool, and yours is 20 years old and doesn't have a swimming pool, why are they telling you that you're going to achieve that price or close to it? So just be careful, question them on how they ascertain the appraisal price. They can tell you that, your home, I think, is better than a lot of these comparable sales, so I feel we'll get more than that. That's fine. But I wouldn't be making a promise about a price without some evidence in front of me. So
100%.
That comes down to the sale method and process. The next is the sale method. So it's typically private sale, expression of interest, or auction.
Yep.
Look, there's no right or wrong. Talk to your agent. It's dependent on the area, on the house, and importantly on the owner's comfort level of what sale method they want. A lot of people say to me, we don't want to auction, they're fearful of it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't want to force them into doing that. A lot of people say to me, we want to auction. We see it works well. That's fine as well. I think you should probably question the agents on how, especially if you haven't sold before, how each method works, what are the benefits and what are the potential pitfalls. They should be able to verbalize that so that you can make an informed decision then. So the sale method is really owner and property dependent. There's not one size fits all. Marketing. Okay, let's say you've got 2 agents there. Yep. They're going to both give you a marketing schedule or a marketing plan. They're not going to be the same price. You're probably going to see one that says 4,000, one that says 5,000. Don't just go to the bottom line. Yeah. Compare apples to apples. A lot of things, they will be all the same. Like, for instance, realestate.com, I think in our area now, they charge $3,200 for a premier ad. That can't be changed. Okay, right. But other things can be changed. Some of the things that you'll find a difference on photos. One of our packages is about $550. Right. And one of our main competitors do it for about $420. And the difference there is one of our competitors, you get 5 shots, no floor plan. It's a day shot of the front of the house, not a dusk facade one, which is far more appealing to the eye, emotive, and that's your first impression. Yep. Whereas ours is 7 shots and a floor plan, etc. A lot of people look at that and think photos are the same. They're not. You're getting more benefit by paying a bit more. Boards. You might get an agent offering you a board for $100 and another agent that's saying their board's going to cost you $230. The difference is likely to be the cheap one is an agency board, which has the agent's branding on there and for sale and nothing about your house. Whereas the expensive one, I don't like them. It's almost no point having a board. You're just advertising the agent with those ones. But the more expensive one is likely to be a photo board, which, you can only see a certain amount about the property from the front, but you'd have a hero shot on there. Might be the kitchen and dining area or a pool or whatever it is. If you're in a court or a low traffic area, you probably don't need a photo board, but I've always found that I only get calls from the photo boards, never from an agency board. So that's why I always recommend those. What else? Print media. A lot of agents say, we don't need print media. It's dead. I still think there's a bit of, in my area, there's a good argument to have a little bit of print media for certain reasons. A lot of older generation are finding their properties in the newspaper. So don't have to go overboard. But what I'm saying is compare apples to apples. Don't just go to the bottom line and question them on why their marketing is more expensive than the other agents, because they should be able to explain that. Fees, always a challenging one. Any qualified agent who knows their value is going to be pretty firm on their fees. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's fair. We're negotiable to a point. Mm-hmm. However, an agent that will just drop their fees to get your business, they're demonstrating how they negotiate. Now, if they can't be firm on their fee in negotiations, how confident are you that they're going to be strong in negotiations about the sale property of your house.
Yeah.
And I say that directly to owners, and sometimes the penny drops and they're like, yeah, you're right. So they're the 4 things there. The process is the one that I think doesn't get asked enough. Yep. And this is where you can find out more about the person. Let's go back to that example that I've had 3 agents. I've gone and inspected 3 agents. I've ruled out 1. I've called in 2. Let's say 1 agent I've thought's wowed me at the opens, and that person's really impressive. The other person I thought, yeah, they're good, but I prefer this one. I'd still call both in. I'd be asking them things like, what do you do to sell a home other than relying on the internet ad? What's your database like? Now, database in an area, all agents have got the same database because we meet the same buyers.
Yeah.
But they'd want to be able to show you a list of buyers who have been searching for properties in the last 6 months in your price range. What do they do if buyers are not inspecting? So everybody thinks they choose their agent, it's going to sell. It's not as easy as that. Sometimes they don't go or campaigns don't go as well as they want. So find out, what do they do if you're not getting buyers through? Yeah. What's their strategy then? Importantly, ask for real life examples. You might see another property that they've got on the market that you know has been on the market for 3-4 months. Ask them about it. Why hasn't that one sold? Or if not, tell me about a property that either hasn't sold or has sold for a lot less than what was expected. We all have them.
Yep, 100%.
And I think that an agent should be able to talk openly and transparently about it and explain why certain things haven't gone well with an individual property. And it's okay to explain in honest terms. It could be, look, we explained to the owner before we listed it, we thought it was $1 million, and they were insistent on wanting to market at 1.2, and they didn't want to adjust their price. They were doing that, and that's fine. It's their house. We're just giving the advice. It could be that the market changed. It could be that we had a building and pest report and found out that all sorts of things were wrong. And then once we know that, we have to be open and tell everybody else about it if they ask. It could be that the agent says, you know what, I got it wrong. I thought it was worth 1.2. But after opening up, I actually made an error on that. I think if an agent is talking to you in that way at that point before they get their listing, I feel that they're being open and honest with you, that they're not perfect. That would sort of demonstrate to me that if they're honest at that point before they have your business, they're far more likely to be honest with you throughout the transaction of selling the home as well.
A quick pause, we'll be right back. Here's a word from one of our sponsors who supports the show. If you've ever considered investing commercially instead of residentially, then you need to have a chat with Michael Leipnick from Aston Constructions. Aston Constructions specialises in childcare as an investment strategy. They'll see through the project from development all the way to the end to renting it out. He works with investors looking for structured commercial opportunities beyond the standard residential path. If that's something you're exploring, his details are in the show notes below. Reach out and have a chat. 100%. I love, thank you for putting so much thought into those steps, because it is so informative for a lot of the sellers that are tuning in, and there are a lot out there that are now, from the budget announcement, in particular our investor kind of listeners, who are starting to go, maybe I'm just going to sell down my portfolio. And they've got a big job on their hands with, especially if they've got more than one property to get rid of and in different locations.
Yeah.
You've got to do the due diligence on the agent. And
absolutely.
I think this is a big part of, like, those steps you mentioned. I want to go back a step. What I like about seeing the agent in action is open for inspections. When you, like, I've been helping my uncle purchase a property recently. So I've been helping him deal with all the agent, questions and experience. I had an agent, he was ready to buy this house. Like, as a buyer, as someone helping him do this, I'm like, he's a legit buyer. He's got his finance in order. He's ready to drop today. He can do a 30-day settlement or whatever settlement suits the seller. We've asked all the right questions. This agent took 2 weeks to process our offer. And to me, I'm like, if I'm selling my house, just give me the offer.
Yeah.
Just give it to me.
Absolutely.
And I know you're trying to get the best price, or you're trying to bleed all the other buyers out at the same time to get the best price for the vendor, which is also a very common strategy.
But keep you updated about it, what's going on.
Keep me updated about it. And say, hey, we do have other offers that we've taken in, and this is where they're at, and sorry it's taken 2 weeks. I just didn't hear anything. I did the most following up ever, saying,
so
where are we at?
Without knowing that agent, it sounds like the agent is not that proactive.
Correct.
Whereas I would want somebody who's proactive.
100%. And you think about it, like you're a buyer, like everyone who's selling is also a buyer, right? So, and I think a lot of buyers have the perspective of like they have a negative connotation towards real estate agents.
Mm-hmm.
And what I always say to that is you have to understand where you're playing in this space, right? Of real estate and selling, anything for sale is marketing.
Yep.
Right? Anything you purchase, why do you like that brand of, shoe? Like, why are you buying the Nike shoes and why are you not buying Adidas or Puma?
Mm-hmm.
You've been marketed to, you've been sold on the product, you're now purchasing the product.
You've probably built up trust with the brand over time as well.
Over time, yep. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just need to understand it. And what you've described is, hey, I'm here to market something to you. There's a certain time of the day we'd like photos done. There's a certain way we want the photos done to be presented online. Sellers who are putting their property on the market, and I think for our buyers listening who are not in this camp yet, you might be in that first home buyer kind of category, don't feel discouraged. It's okay to like the marketing of a property.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you get to the property, they are going to show it in the best light. They're not there to unsell it and say, oh, by the way, there's a hole in the wall over there if you want to be aware of it. But, and there's also all the plumbing shit. Don't worry about it.
No, I agree.
They're not going to do all that stuff. But why due diligence exists is part of what you need to do as the buyer beware to then do a building and pest inspection. The agent's not going up in the roof and doing all of that.
No, we're not qualified to.
They're not qualified. You don't want them up there, I'm telling you. But there's such a good list of things here to be aware of. So from the buyer perspective, what I would say to you guys is this conversation is hopefully helping you understand how this landscape works, the behind the scenes of what effort an agent goes to list a property. And for the sellers who are trying to pick an agent and keep falling into the trap of, and there are so many of them, like I've seen this time and time again in my, experience in the last 15 years where I've had a friend that's called me, they've listed their property and they're like, Joe, my house isn't selling. It's been 3 months. What have I done wrong? And I'm like, who's the agent? And they'll send me the details and then I'll go, okay. And I had a, I'll always have a deep dive online and I'll go, well, your property price is wrong for starters. I said, that is out of whack. And they're like, what do you mean? Like it should be, I'm seeing properties sell for this. And I'm like, we're comparing 3 to 4 bedroom.
And your property's always better.
Yeah. And I said,
always.
Correct. Right. And I said,
it's only human nature.
It is because we know the love we've put into our homes, right? Sellers, we get it, and real estate agents do get it. It's a property you've nurtured, you've looked after, your memories are there. So you put the value higher than everyone else. And another
30 years of mortgage repayments and the effort and sacrifice you've gone through. It is an emotional asset as much as a financial asset.
100%. And you've got the other aspect too that I always used to say this when I was in real estate, like they'd go, oh, we're going to renovate the bathroom, the kitchen, the this, that. And I'd go, just don't do anything yet. Clean it up 100%. If it's in bad condition, I always used to encourage, a lick of paint will take you a weekend, fix that up, fix this up, let's get it staged, let's not get it staged. All that kind of stuff factors in. But at the end of the day, spending 30, 40K to get the extra benefit, there's really got to be a strategy there, not just doing it.
I mean, I rarely suggest owners they go and renovate a bathroom or kitchen. The only time I think it did is where they had the ensuite and the kitchen and everything else renovated and they had a pretty lousy bathroom. I said, look, you might want to do that. And they did and actually worked. But it's you want to look for low cost, high value things that you can
that will get you the return.
Yeah.
And I think this is the same thing with what agents are offering on the table. Like this is a common one where obviously if I go back to that example I had, and I'm going to ask you to share yours too, but she said, look, it's on market. I thought it was at the right price. And I said, it's not. The market's telling you it's not.
Yeah.
And I said, the feedback is you've been on market 3 months and there's been no progress.
Correct.
And I said, now I've got a local agent there that I trust, that I know does a really good job. I said, where's your contract at with the current agent? She goes, oh, it's finished. I said, oh, beautiful. So go and interview agents, right? So she interviewed this one agent. It was the last week of November in 2024. And I said, go interview this agent, see if it's a fit. I said, I vet them, but you got to do it. So she did the interview. She listed with her. 7 days later, it sold. And
we just had one in the office exactly the same.
Yeah. And it happens so often.
I've actually had 2 just in the last 2 weeks that properties had been on the market for 3 to 6 months, asking a price, weren't getting anywhere. Jared listed one in Safety Beach and Najee listed one in Rosebud, both sold within a week for the same price of what they were asking anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes to show it's not all agents are the same. In any job, there are people that are good at their job and people who are not so good at the job.
Yeah.
So you want to try and find the one that's good at the job. I was just thinking one last thing on that in-person investigation, going back to that. So if I had two agents and I really liked one after I'd inspected them, I thought that one was okay, by asking these about their process, you may find that agent that you've really resonated with and liked trips up with these questions about the process, because they won't be expecting those questions. But if you question them, they should be able to come up with
an answer.
If they can't, you might end up saying, well, I like that person as a person. However, I think this person, maybe I didn't give me the warm and fuzzies as much, but they seem to know their stuff better, so I might go with them. That's why I don't skip a step in the process. Go through all three.
It's true. And you're right. If they don't, like, I'm a stickler for property information. If you list a property, you need to know the stock.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect that after myself being in the industry and selling houses, we used to do a caravan back then. They used to put us in the car. We have to go look.
This morning.
Yeah, exactly. Go look at the listings. You get to learn them, like when was it built, what happened, you talk to the sellers, you ask them questions about their property, and you're basically making a checklist of notes and you study it before an open. So then when you get to an open and someone says, hey, what's the flooring here? Is that lino? And it's like, actually, no, it's hard timber, it's floorboards, it's this, it's that. When agents don't know answers to that question, that really annoys me.
Yeah, and some basic questions.
And this is the covert operation you mentioned, is how well do they know it? You might not want to buy this house, but you're going there to interview them undercover. So you're a secret shopper.
Finding out what they're really like.
Exactly, finding out.
Because if you don't, you're basing that decision we talk about, who do you trust, on their online profile that they've created, and then at the appointment when you meet them, where they've got their game show on and they're going through another listing presentation, which they've rehearsed 1,000 times. And so the in-person covert investigation, I think, takes a bit more effort, but it's going to help you make a much better decision.
Well, almost like you're about to sell one of your biggest assets.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to cheap out on who you select on that journey, because the market does, like, it from being a buyer. If you're selling, you're also buying. You are taking stock online of all the properties that you keep seeing that haven't sold, and you've marked them. You've gone, oh, that had a price change. I find a lot of buyers
That's the thing that frustrates me. With the agent search on the main page, they show you what they sold, but they don't show you what they haven't sold or what they've withdrawn. They also don't show you the price change difference between when it was listed and what it sold for. So that's why you need to do more investigation yourself to find the right person.
I like your perspective, because you're an agent, not saying, oh, no, that's all bullshit. You just, whoever's got the top sales in the area, that's who you go with.
No, but you look at one of the main suburbs I serve is Rosebud. We've got houses that sell, properties that sell anywhere from 400,000 up to close to 3 million on the high end. So if you've got a house worth 1.5 million and you just go and search by the agent who's sold the most properties, you'll find them, but they're typically selling properties at the lower end of the price pool.
Yeah.
Which means they're not dealing with the buyers who have got 1.5 million to spend. So it may well be better to find the agent who hasn't transacted as many properties, but has transacted with more properties like yours.
I think that's a key thing that a lot of sellers miss, is seeing the volume that the agent online sells with. So it's like you say, oh, wow, they have 150 reviews and they've sold 70 properties in the last 12 months. Damn, they must be a great agent. But then you look at the median price and it's 800,000, and then you're comparing your property and let's say it is sitting at that 1.3 to 1.5 bracket.
I used to track my main competitors. I stopped doing it now because it's just too laborious, but when you'd see a listing come up, you put on, right, there's the listing, this is the date it came on, and this was the asking price. And then when it sold, this is how long it took to sell, and this is the asking price, and the percentage difference.
Wow.
You
could make an app out of that people would just constantly live on.
It's actually not a bad business idea.
It's not.
Because the regular consumer doesn't have access. There's nowhere that I know that you've got to subscribe to RP Data or something like that to get that information. There's nothing out there that I know of that shows the price changes, etc. But it was interesting that some of my main competitors, and it's going over a couple of years, one of them was selling them on average just under 20% less than the listing price. And most of them were more than 10%. I was always above my listing price, but that was because I do a lot of auctions, and auctions can go higher than the price. So it was a bit distorted in that way, in my favour, obviously.
Of course.
But yeah, just to see there's nowhere that you can find that information, unfortunately, as a consumer. And as I say, I used to do it, but it just takes so much work out of your day.
But it's a great metric to follow. But buyers, tend to know those stats because they're actively looking. They are on market, for 6 to 9 months.
I think buyers know the prices better than real estate agents because they're the ones going around and inspecting everything. And
they're comparing. They're comparing constantly.
They're seeing more houses than real estate agents because they're not just going to your agency's listings. They're going to everyone's.
Yep.
So
it's almost like we need like a buyer to sit here with you and going, well, this is what I've noticed.
Absolutely. And it happens. It happens. But they'll say, I saw it sold back in this time and the market's dropped since then. Then you've got to know your stuff to explain. Like, so you might have somebody that bought in 2020, paid $1 million for it, and the buyer comes in and says, well, it's 2026, the market's dropped, it should only be worth 800 today. So, well, no, that's not correct. The market jumped by 40% over COVID and came back by 20%. So statistically, it should be worth 1.2 statistically, but 800, but that might be them just trying it on. And fair enough, it's their job to try and get a house for the cheapest price they possibly can, that they're allowed to.
Oh, well, yeah. And look, and this is, why I say to buyers, I'm like, you've just got to understand who the client is. It's like realestate.com. You got to understand that realestate.com is a marketing engine. It's not a bad thing. It's just that's what it's created for, because if it was marketing to you, you would be paying for it. That's a service that if it was designed for buyers, it would be, you would pay a subscription fee monthly to see those properties, and you would get all the information that you would need because it's being sold as a buyer service.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, it's not a buyer service. The idea, you're the consumer, where that is a marketing platform that agents, DIY sellers pay to use, pay to list to get that property in front of you, get it in front of a big audience, do social media campaigns. And this brings me to this new age that we're in, is like social media, especially like with TikTok being a very big place to, it's an open platform to sell houses. I've
never actually been on one, so I don't TikTok.
Oh, man, maybe after this, we'll just jump on.
It's not my generation. Maybe I'm too old for it. So
I don't look, no, not at all. My grandmother's on it, and she's in her late 70s. Yeah, she's all over TikTok. So.
But once again, it's something else you can get addicted to, looking at a screen. That's 100%. My fear of jumping on.
But the big thing that I've noticed though is, and it's still. How do I explain it? I'm going to be careful with my words here.
No, go ahead. Be blunt.
I'll be blunt. Okay. So when I look at TikTok and I see the agents that advertise a property, I rarely see the property. I see the agent. I am seeing the real estate agent on the screen. I am not seeing bedrooms, bathrooms. I'm not seeing backyards. I'm seeing them for about 2 seconds. But about 90% of the video is the agent talking in front of it. And my focus and attention is not on the property anymore. It's more on the agent.
Yep.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. That is their own social media platform to market their service. That is absolutely okay. Yeah. But you as a seller getting sucked in, again, that's a portion of, I think an assessment that a lot of sellers are now doing is looking at their social profiles of the agent to say, how much presence do you have and weight do you have to get rid of this property? I don't fully agree with it because it's skewed.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. And we're another guy in my office, Phil, we're starting to do our own reels. Phil's done them already. He does like 30-second reels just chatting about things. And probably something good to do to put on information online.
Agreed.
Not specifically regarding an individual property, but something like this, how to choose an agent.
No, so I'm more talking about like that.
Talking about the house.
Yeah, the house.
Yeah, so look, if they're doing it themselves on their phone and they're not charging the vendor for it, they can do that. But
Fantastic.
If they're charging the owner, $200, $300, $500 for a video.
That's what I'm referring to.
If I was an owner and I saw that and it was all about the agent, I wouldn't be too happy with that. I want to be. It's fine to have the agent talking a voiceover.
Yeah.
But I want the photos being of the house, highlighting the house.
Correct. And this is what I've started to see is the agents are charging a service fee for their influence on social media. And
They're like banks, aren't they? They find another way to charge a fee. Jeez. No wonder people don't trust real estate agents when they're doing things like that. That's just
exactly right. So when I looked at it up, I was reading an article, I'll send it to you. It was just interesting. And then I started to do my own investigation because I always do. I'm like, go into a rabbit hole and go, I wonder, oh yeah, let's have a look. And I'll say, oh yeah, paid ad, that's fine. But then I say, okay, it's a paid ad, but I'm not seeing the property. I'm seeing him or her walking a lot around this house and, pretending to live in it, like sitting down at the coffee table. And yeah, at the end of the day, you've charged a seller. And this is what I want to be like a bit of, seller beware here.
Yeah.
Go look at that content. If they say I have 20,000 followers, I'm a top agent, my agency performs really well, and I do social media videos and my charge is, $1,000, I'm going to do 5 videos for you. Those 5 videos, when you start to dig into their profiles, yes, they've got 20,000 followers. Then you see the posts that are actually, being liked and not the ones with them in it. It's the ones with the properties in it that are being showcased. And I'm like, okay, that's positive. People are promoting that over someone's head on screen.
Yeah.
But I think that's an interesting marketing play to start charging for.
Yeah, I think it's wrong if they're charging the vendor for a video about themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Pay for it yourself.
So,
every agent should have their own personal marketing budget.
100%.
And you spend the marketing on marketing yourself. We ask owners to spend thousands of dollars to market their house. I don't think it's wrong that we should be paying out of our own
pocket
funds marketing for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, you get some marketing through the vendor with your name on the boards on the internet and everything like that. But doing that, I don't agree with that. And I'm still not convinced. I'm sure it will move that way, that social media will become a far more mainstream way to find and buy property. I'm still not convinced it's anywhere close to
realestate.com dominates domain real estate platforms.
Correct. And it may go in the way that, went from newspaper advertising to online advertising. It may in future go from online advertising like realestate.com to TikTok, Facebook, whatever. It hasn't happened yet, especially in my area where the demographic, there's a lot of, baby boomers and people in their 70s, 80s that probably not on these platforms.
Yeah, it's true.
And a lot of the people coming down by, especially the sea changers, they're baby boomers. They're probably not as interested in these online platforms as 20, 30-year-old.
Yeah. And it's your target demographic too. Like I feel like properties and locations that we all have a demographic to work in, like what would you say for, we're in Rye today, but you're in the Rosebud area predominantly, or this whole area?
Down in Rye, but more up towards Tookrook, Rosebud, Capel Sound, Macrae, that sort of area.
Right. So what would you say the majority of your demographic is? Like, are we dealing with people in their 30s or maybe their 50s or their 60s?
It's actually, because those suburbs have got such a vast price point and different offerings, it's not like a suburb that's got a lot of single-fronted houses and a few apartments. There's quite a vast majority of housing. So we do have a vast buyer pool or demographic. Last month, I sold a little place in Rosebud. It was a 2-bedroom weatherboard fisherman's cottage to an old gentleman who's moving back to the area. He's moving back to fish, and he paid $660 for it. My colleague Grant sold a house in Macrae for $5,020,000, which was a street or suburb record. So it's a vast.
Far and wide.
Overall down here, it used to be a retirement and holiday home area. It's now changed, and I think this is due to the Peninsula Link, the road that gives access to Melbourne a lot quicker being in. That's been in for about 12, 13 years now. So that's changed. So there's a lot more first home buyers coming down here. That's because of price point. You can buy a house for $650, very livable house here, where you're not going to find that anywhere closer to town. You're also finding empty nesters, baby boomers have sold the house, got 1, 2, 3 million for it. They've decided they want to make the sea change. We still have investors, although that's likely to be less with the new budget.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And you still have people looking for holiday homes. They must be doing all right in this time to be able to afford a holiday home. Most people are struggling to pay the mortgage. House, so.
Let alone 2. But I like that's your answer, because it shows that you know your market, and you understand that there's a different way to sell and market, because there is, right?
Correct. So if you've got a house with our packages, if we've got a house in one of First through 9th Avenue in Rosebud, for instance. They're all pretty similar. They're about 390 square metres. They're typically 2 or 3 bedroom houses. A lot of them are valued anywhere between, say, 550 and 750, call it.
Yeah.
For that sort of home, you probably don't need an extensive marketing package. I'd still say what you do is good quality, but you don't need to go overboard. Saying that, the house that Grant sold up and Phil sold up on in Macrae, $5 million home, they obviously spent a lot more because they were reaching a wider audience. So they had full page ads in the newspaper,
Right.
what's called a premiere video with a flyover and full video. I think it was about a 3-minute walkthrough of the home. A lot of different things. So it's horses for courses. You don't need to go and spend thousands. Just whatever you do on marketing, make sure that it makes sense. That what you're trying to do is to advertise it in places where the likely purchasers are going to see it. And maybe that's something I need to do is investigate TikTok and maybe there are some first home buyers on that.
There are. Like social media has done like wonderful things from an organic perspective. Like I'm a big advocate for organic media, right? Because you build communities around it. Paid ads do a wonderful job to funnel, a lot of people looking at your content or looking at your video. But
so many companies out there offering to do that as well.
There's marketing companies and agencies, digital marketing. It's a huge industry. I always believe that growing your own audiences organically leads to community. Like this is how we've built the podcast. Yeah. We could have skyrocketed podcast traction far sooner than 5 years. You know, when we started out, it was like 2-3 listeners a week. To today, we have 2,000 monthly listeners that tune in, but we have not paid full marketing for that. We've just tried to build a community around it. And what's beautiful about that, and shout out to our listeners, but you guys tune in loyally, you contribute, you email or you DM us and you say, oh, what about this? Or you should talk to this, which actually leads me perfectly to a Reddit story that one of our listeners submitted. And I'd love to unpack it with you and get your view on it because it ties into today's topic so well. So let's have a read of what this person sent. Now, they said, this is the post that came from the Oz Property Chat. Thank you for our listener sending it to us. And what they're doing is they're comparing the agent fees and the marketing costs. So their battle at the moment in this post is mainly agents charging this, marketing fee is this, what do I do? So it says, is this fair? Is this expensive? Or is this just what selling costs? And it says, I'm a seller asking for roughly $1 million to sell my house in South Melbourne. With the agent fee at 2.2%, the marketing cost is $10,949. The brochure package is $220. The internet portals is $7,598. Production and media package is $1,800. Signage and auction day is $1,331. So when a seller sees something, I think in this section, what they're asking is, there's a lot of marketing costs here, if I'm honest.
There are.
Like we're up to we're about 20 to 22,000 just in marketing, and then a 2.2% agent fee, and then a $1 million house is the asking price.
Yeah.
And the agent is saying, I can do this. This is the package. This seller is not sure if that's normal, exuberant, or just what you need to pay for. This is the price to sell a home. In your opinion, like, how should they break that down before deciding whether it's expensive, fair, or worthwhile? Because marketing's a big one.
Yeah, my first question is that the only agent they spoke to, or do they want to go through that process and call in a couple of others? Because marketing you can compare. The charge for the web portals. So understand this, realestate.com charges a different price on the suburbs. So in our area, it's just gone up by 12% actually. It's now $3,200 just for the online ad.
Yeah.
I know up in Armidale, for instance, it probably is closer to the $7,000. An agent can't control those costs. That's what realestate.com charge. We can't get around those.
I didn't even realise that they'd switched that model to suburb.
Yeah. Or area. So it's the cheaper suburbs or maybe less transaction suburbs, there's less. The higher value suburbs, they'll charge more.
And is that because
of wrong?
Is that based on the volume of people that are basically looking at those locations?
That I don't know, but it just seems, and I could be wrong, that the higher the price point of the suburb, the higher you pay for your internet ad.
Wow.
So,
because you could have you could be in a pocket of a suburb that has a property that's $400,000.
Well, look at it this way: The one that I sold for $660, they paid $2,800 for their internet ad. The one that we sold for $5 million, they paid $2,800 for their ads because it's the same area.
That's what I mean. Like, that's crazy to me that in the location. I think
it's fair because you're paying for the same product.
No, fair from that point. But like when you go suburb to suburb,
and they're charging $7,000 for the same ad, that that's something I question.
Yeah, me too.
It's because realestate.com does have such a stranglehold on the market. Domain's the second option. However, the majority of people use realestate.com because that's what comes first to mind. And, if you said you just want to be on domain.com, you're not giving yourself the best chance to sell. So going back to your question, there are certain things in that, what you've told me there, that the agent can't control the cost in. The auction day flags and everything, that's probably causing an auctioneer fee. That might be the price for the area. We're certainly not that amount here. Regarding the fee, so this is where it gets a bit challenging as well, that people may not understand. If you've got a house that's worth $600,000 or a house that's worth $1.2 million, it's going to take the same effort to sell those houses, technically. The same amount of time invested in for the agent to do that. So in that sense, the percentage fee is likely to be a bit higher on the lower price property, and it'll be a bit lower on the more expensive property.
Yeah.
The dollar fee at the end is always going to be more on the higher expensive property, even though it's a lower percentage fee. I hope I've explained that right. It sounds like it came out in a very confusing way.
No, I get you. So it's more like the same amount of effort is going in no matter what the price bracket is. The job is the job kind of thing.
As a rule of thumb, there are exceptions to that, but let's take an auction campaign. You're auctioning a house that's going to go for $600,000 and auction a house that's going to go for $1 million. Let's say the percentage is 2% on each. Yeah, 2% on $600,000 is $12,000, and on $1 million is $20,000.
Yeah.
So that's why you say you can probably be more negotiable on the percentage amount. Even if you did it 1.5 on the $1 million house, you're still taking more dollars out of that commission, even though it's a lower percentage.
Yeah. But it's different strategies too. Like I find properties in certain price brackets require a bit of a different approach or strategy too, right? So it's like the 400,000 to 700,000. You're dealing with it we were dealing with a lot more investors, but now like your first home buyers or, downsizers or elderly, like trying to break into that market. You're probably dealing with more of a majority demographic. But then when you start to creep into that 1.5 plus bracket, you're not dealing with a majority, I would say, a lot of the time.
The higher the price, the less buyers are out there.
And I feel like that's where your database as an agent probably makes some difference.
Look, it's not only the database, how you use the database. Think about this. There's probably 15 agencies down here. We all meet the same buyers.
Yeah.
So we've all got the same database. That's
it is what
I don't question that. It's how you communicate with that database. Do you actually do something with it? Is it just a list of names, which is a phone book? Or do you actually, and this is why I talk about at the open, do they ask questions about buyer? What's your budget? And you put that in. What do you want? Well, we need 2 or 3 bedrooms. Which areas you want to be? So you can filter all that down. So then you can send them relevant information. So rather than getting an email about a $1.5 million home when you've got a budget of $750,000, you're just going to delete that and probably unsubscribe. But if you're getting relevant information about properties that you're looking for, you're far more likely to engage with them and stay focused with them. Right now, we've got more than ever our hot buyer list. People we know ready to buy in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
You bet we're all over those because buyer work's becoming more important than ever now. It's not people just showing up and making offers.
No.
And always when you go through a market like this, you'll see that there'll be a lot of people that leave the industry because they haven't been through these markets before. So coming back onto the fee, I don't know that area, so I can't comment about it. But an agent who's offering, say, 1.5% and your other agent's offering 2%, question that agent's offering 2%. Why should you pay them 25% more than the agent for doing the same job? They should be able to justify the value of their fee. And that comes back down to their experience, their negotiation skills, what service they're going to provide, because everyone's different. It's not every agent, every campaign goes the same.
Yeah.
And choosing the right agent. It might seem it would cost you a bit more on the front end, but if that agent can demonstrate to you and give you confidence that they're going to get a higher sales price through their skill of negotiation, marketing, etc., you might spend $5,000 more up front, but you might get an extra $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 on the back end.
Yep.
Which
justifies their cost too.
Yeah, it's an investment. Look, here's a great example. A girl I used to work with who was a real estate agent, she left the industry and then she moved to Queensland. She was planning to come back, but they decided to stay up there. She called me and said, look, we're staying, want to sell your house. Okay, great. I looked at it and it was a nice house. And I said, look, comparable sales are anywhere between 7 and 820. I think you're going to get at least to 820 and maybe more because your house, I believe, is better presented and whatever.
Yep.
She was smart. She knew what she's doing. She was going to auction because that's what she did. And she said, no, I want you to market it at 730 to 790. I said, your reserve better be in that range.
Yep.
She stuck to her word. She was. Actually, the first week I had 21 groups through, second week 16. I called her, I said, we have to put this range up. She said, no, I'm leaving it there. The market will decide. My reserve will be in the range. Okay, I've done everything I can. I was actually telling buyers, don't expect it to get it for 730. I think it's going to go at least 750, possibly 800. I don't know. So being open with them and explaining to them. So she set it up right that way with her expectations. She's probably spent with marketing and styling the home about $10,000. So she's $10,000 in on costs. We ended up having 9 bidders there. And this is only about 4 weeks ago. So after the budget dropped. So when the world crashed, according to the media, and the property was going to drop by 10%, we still had 9 buyers there on the day wanted to bid. Only 6 of them put their hand up. She wanted to set her reserve at 780. I said, don't set it at 800 because we've got buyers there that have sold us, they're going to pay that. It went for 865. So very clever in what she's done there, setting her expectations very realistically.
Yeah.
To market it in a way that would bring, she would have sold for 750 if that was all it, by the way.
Yeah.
No worries. What it did, it brought people there. It created competition, which created a great outcome. So if you can find an agent that can explain those sort of scenarios to you and why they should market it in a certain way and the cost of marketing and how you price it to attract attention, and I'm not talking about underquoting, don't think we're doing that. It's strategy to position it in that's going to attract attention.
But you also got to, like you said, you made a very, very important point, and this is the difference of underquoting. If she had have had an offer at 750 and that was the maximum offer that she could have gotten, she would have sold. Now, underquoting, on the other hand, is saying, let's market this way, but we're going to guarantee that we go 30 to 40% above what you're asking, you've asked for here.
You can't do. So a lot of people don't understand underquoting. It's, first of all, if an owner tells you what they want, you're not allowed to advertise anything less than that. Regardless of the comparable sales, you're not allowed to advertise that. You're not allowed to advertise less than an offer that's been rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. If the owner, and what we say to owners who are auctioning, don't set your reserve, listen to the market. This is what the most comparable sales are like. And we can use a 10% range. You're typically going to find more than 10%.
Mm.
But how I do is suggest them, look, it's a movable range. You don't have to sell in that range. Let's do this. We've got comparable sales between 7 and 800,000. Let's start on the conservative side. Let's say 7 to 750.
Yeah.
For instance. If we have a lot of interest at that level, I call in and say, look, I think we need to move that up. We want to be transparent to the buyers. One, that's important. Also, because if you start high, if you started 750 to 8 and no one came, and then the owner decides to drop their range, they've lost 1 or 2 weeks of marketing. So you've shortened the campaign. Everybody's watching it, thinking what's going wrong with it. So I start with a conservative level with not, you've got to have something that's genuinely comparable, but we can't pick if it's going to be 7 or 800,000 based on the comparable. So I start in the conservative range. If there's a lot of interest there, we just move it up. And it's a great call to make to buyers as well. I know we were quoting this, but we know that 700 is no longer realistic. So just being transparent, we're moving it up to 725 to 775. Just so you know, you're not going to, don't come if you're expecting to get a 700. We think it's going to be more than that.
I think that is a huge quality in an agent, to be transparent.
Oh, you have to be.
Especially with the buyers, because there is a lot of hope that when buyers see those advertised listings, like, 700, that's in our budget. This is a great house.
Mm.
And they think it's a bargain. Often that bargain is the bubbles bursted pretty quickly when they arrive at auction day and they go, oh shit, this went way over. But when you've got an agent that says, hey, it's going to go somewhere here.
I think, I don't want to be stood there and looked at like an idiot, like I'm lying, because it's not going to be like that.
Yeah.
It's better to be open and transparent with buyers and say, look, we're quoting 750. I've got interest above 7, so don't expect it to get it for that. I think it's going to go for more than that. I can't tell you it won't, but don't come here expecting to buy it for 700. I don't think it's going to happen.
And how do buyers respond when you tell them that? Like,
oh, look, they're probably disappointed because they're hoping to get it for 700. But I genuinely think that I've had people thank me for telling them that, because you are being open with them.
Yeah, they don't want to waste their time. Like, it's disappointing in the moment to hear it.
So our job is to get the best price for the owner. You've got to do it in a legal and ethical way. And of course, we're trying to get the buyers to pay as much as we possibly can. We've also got a duty of care towards buyers where I think you need to be transparent and open with them. And, they'll ask me, what's the vendor's reserve? I can say to them, look, they genuinely have not set a reserve as yet. And they won't do until the Saturday morning of the auction because they want to understand what the market's going to pay for it. Set the right reserve. But, you have buyers complaining about other agents underquoting and this and that and whatever, and whether they are or not, I'm not sure. But I think if you're open and transparent, it's better off for them. It's also going to be better off because those buyers are going to buy. They're going to sell at some point. Most of their transactions 7 years. And you'd feel that if you've been a decent person with them, tried to guide them right in the selling process, I might have the chance of being called in 5, 6, 10 years down the line when they want to sell. They might remember, hey, that guy was a decent guy, let's call him.
And I think that's why, with this show and the podcast, like my whole thing has been about vetting professionals and saying if they're on the show, we believe they're doing the good thing and they're doing the right thing. Yeah. So
and don't get me wrong, most agents, I believe, I know we've all got a bad name, but most agents, I'd say 99% of them are actually good people trying to do the right thing. It's like in every industry, you're going to have a bad apple, but I know the perception out there that real estate agents are all the same and they're sharks. The majority of them are just people trying to make a living and they're going to do the right thing.
But I think that there's a skewed reality there, right? Yeah. Because if you look at the weight of, like, we have at the moment, there's not a lot of stock, right? Or there wasn't, and there was much more buyers on market for the last couple of months. So the view on the agent is always going to be heavily dependent on, well, okay, is it the sellers or the buyers that are purchasing or transacting at the moment? And when there are a lot of buyers with opinions who are dealing with a lot of agents, they're always going to have a negative view. But that's why I hope this episode has done two things today. I hope it's helped sellers who are thinking about selling understand how to, pick the right agent. I think that's super important for your campaign and the success of your house sale. And then on the flip side, hope that our buyers understand that there is a job to be done. There is a place and a way to transact. And if you're really scared of real estate agents for some reason, or you're worried that you're being had, this is what buyers agents do. But again, the same process that you've just explained for real estate agents and selecting them.
You could do with a buyer's agent as well.
Absolutely do with a buyer's agent. You can't probably observe them in the wild because they don't host open for inspections. No. But you can absolutely do that covertly in different ways to assess them. And
another way, just send them an email and see what the response time is. As you said about following up.
Following up's huge. Yeah. I feel like follow-up and follow-through in an industry that we say is about houses, but it's really about people and relationships. If you don't know how to manage those relationships, then you need to get out.
Agreed. And you've also have to be able... Biggest complaint you hear about real estate agents from owners, I never heard from them and I never got an offer.
Yep.
Okay. Two things there. You haven't heard from them because they haven't got anybody through and they're just scared to call you because they don't want to deliver bad news. They haven't got an offer because no one's come through. So you have to be upfront at the listing point. I have a pre-campaign meeting saying this is what's going to happen if all goes well. If things are not going to go well, this is what we're going to be discussing. And so they know that in advance. And then you've got to have the courage and being forthright up, say, hey, things are not going well. We need to chat and we need to adjust something. I don't want to just sit here and hope the buyer falls out of the sky. We need to be proactive.
Yeah. And how many times when you have those discussions, like, or if you do have those discussions with the sellers, are they responding negatively? Like, you're being transparent with them, like to say that we need to do an adjustment here on your price, or we need to do an adjustment on strategy and how we get these buyers here.
As a majority, they're all pretty accepting of it. I mean, obviously disappointing.
Yeah, of course.
That, the market's not bearing what they're hoping for, it looks like. But I think if you're upfront with them at the start and saying, look, we're hoping everything's going well, but let's plan for the worst. If we're not getting people through, if we're not getting offers, we need to change something, and this is what we're going to be talking about. So they're prepared for that conversation if it needs to come in the first place.
Yeah.
I also think before you have a conversation about adjusting a price with the owner, you have to have earned the right to have that conversation. And what I mean there is you've done everything you said you're going to do. You've contacted your database. It's online. You've done opens. You've called everybody back. You've given them feedback, etc. So you can go to them with the evidence. Say, look, we've been on the market 3 weeks. We've had 2 people through. No one else is coming through.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. Is it the presentation? No, it presents well. Is it the marketing and promotion? No, we can see hidden 10,000 searches. It's one thing. It's the price. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell, by the way. We're not telling you to take an offer less than what you want. We wouldn't want you to. But if you want to sell, we need to look at your price. And it may not be a huge drop. A slight adjustment can have a big effect.
It's always like a range, right? It's like you might have set your range at 850 to 900. Now we're probably looking at go to 880 at the top.
I'll give you a great example. A couple of years ago, I had a house on the busiest corner in the suburb. The owner wanted, she was thinking 8, and I said to her, look, forget about 8. That's what a house around the corner and not a side street. You're on a busy corner. I think, somewhere around low 7s is right, maybe mid 7s. I wanted her to quote it, I think for auction 660 to 715 or something like that. She was like, no, we're doing it my way. She made me quote it much higher. Week before the auction, the one buyer we had pulled out, bought another house. So I went and saw her. She was
devastated.
Yeah. I said, okay, we've tried it your way, now you're doing it my way. Went back to my original quote range for 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we had 7 buyers there. She set her reserve, I think, at just under 7 because that's what Mark was bearing. We've had 5 bidders that day, and it sold for not the 750 she wanted. That's right, originally. And I told her no, it wasn't 750. She got 735 at
that's
auction
not bad
on a
at all.
2-week campaign. Well, no, the 750 was never out there. That was her dream price. It just wasn't there.
Yeah.
But had she doing it her way, we had no buyers there.
Yeah.
Quoting it, I think 7 to 750 or whatever it was. Once we changed it to a realistic range based on the comparable sales, the buyers came. She set her reserve at a realistic price. It got 15 grand away from where she wanted to in a 2-week campaign.
Wow.
So slight adjustments can make big differences for you. But you need to, going back to, you need to earn the right to have those conversations. You need to prove to the owner you've done everything you can, what you said you're going to do, and this is the reasons why we need to make a price adjustment, or we need to spend more on marketing, or we need to do whatever. Beware the agent that comes in and says, well, we've had no one through, so you just need to drop your price. If that's the strategy, just do it yourself.
And I'll say one other thing too. I think it's interesting that, we're talking a lot about like, don't just go with the agent that offers you the highest possible price that might seem unrealistic. But it's also like your own research on the area too. Like, don't be afraid to question the agent on like the comparables.
Question them.
Like when my grandmother sold her house, perfect example, that she had a very unique property in the sense that she had a 12-car garage. It was like a 5-bedroom home, 4 bathrooms. Nothing in terms of the land size was comparable to that.
You can't find a comparable sale for that.
No. So the agent, what they brought in at the time, the listing agent who we were interviewing, brought in a price at, like you said, I reckon we can do it for 850 to 900. And I said, in no way in the world. I said, like, I said, what desktop value are you using? What other comparables? Like, there's no comparables for this house. We don't have anything to compare to. I said, no, I believe you, but what's the historical trend we're seeing? Like, show me what's been selling at that price point, and show me at 850, what have you sold? Is it 4 bedrooms? Is it 6 bedrooms? Is it 1 bathroom? Is it 12 car spaces or 3 car spaces? I want to know what's being sold at your suggested price, and then could we rework how we price it at the top?
Yeah. So you're always going to find properties where they're unique and there's just not comparable sales for them. So then how I do is I go back and say, okay, well, what do we think land value is and what do we think the replacement cost is? And that can give you one price. That's one way of looking at it. You can look at it saying, okay, you had a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house with a 12-car garage. Well, the 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a 2-car garage sold for $750. What's that extra bedroom, 2 bathrooms and 6 garage spaces worth? We can add that onto the price.
Yeah.
You also, especially at the moment, look at what else is on the market similar to yours that is competing against yours. Because the comparable sales are one thing, but they're done and dusted.
The comparable
buyers
listings
are looking at what's available. So all the comparables could suggest $1 million. You could have 3 or 4 homes on the market asking 900.
Yeah.
you're unlikely, the comparable sales are irrelevant then because the market's reset itself. I understand what you're saying, but and that's why I say sometimes we get it wrong because we don't have all the information that we would love to have. But at least if you've gone through a thought process of how you've determined a price, you can explain that, at least you should give the owner some confidence. Yeah, okay, at least they've thought it out and it makes sense to me how they've come up with that price. It might be wrong and you might have to adjust it, but in those cases, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't get it right.
From the get-go.
You find out, well, it's very difficult to.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's well answered. That's why I thought I wanted to bring it up because I think a lot of sellers who are in that position of interviewing do think of it like, oh, okay, so I just don't go with the person offering the most. It's like, no, it's the strategy, the comparables,
At the appraisal, question the agent on how they've determined the price. You'll find out very quickly the ones that are telling you what you want to hear just to get your business.
100%.
And you'll find the ones that have put in the thought process and saying, look, your $1 million may not be there because similar homes haven't solved that. It might be there, and I know how to find it. I've got the processes to do it, but my appraisal range is going to be less than that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're going to have to sell for that.
Absolutely not. And like that's part of like trusting who you picked as your agent and following that guidance or that strategy in that example of like the seller that wanted to take control and say, no, we're doing it my way. And then
and you have to listen to them. It's their house.
Correct, you do, right?
We're here to provide advice. It's up to the owner whether they take that advice or not.
That's right. But this is why I always say if you've chosen the right agent, follow the strategy because it'll get you a result. They know the market better than you do.
Exactly.
You know, in some cases and a lot of cases because they're working in it every day. They're not selling one house every 7 years. They're selling houses weekly, monthly, daily, over a long period of years in most cases. So you've got to trust that guidance. And a quick pause. We'll be right back. Here's a word from one of our sponsors who supports the show. If you've ever chased a hotspot suburb, or maybe you're trying to look for properties in the market and don't know where to start, then Scott Agate is someone you'll want to talk to from Green Shoots Property. Green Shoots Property focuses on identifying market trends before they become a hotspot and then you eventually get priced out. They focus on the trends that actually will show growth and potential in markets before they boom. It's about buying strategically before the growth cycle matures, not jumping in when everyone else is already there. If you want smart positioning instead of trend chasing, then Scott Agate and his team at Green Shoots Property can help you out. His details are in the show notes below. I can't believe, Paul, like we've talked so much, but I need to ask you one final thing because it's a big part of this selection process. Talk to me a little bit about like, you know, your view or understanding, especially for our listeners who go on those online, like My Local Agent Finder, my realestate.com, the agent kind of profiles.
We might need another episode.
I think maybe we can tease the next episode with your little.
I'm glad you asked me.
Because it's a big factor these days when someone goes in and selects an agent based on the top agencies.
They've got their place. I'm not saying don't use them. They've got their place. I think there's a few things that you probably want to understand before you click the button.
Yeah.
Lights went out. Back on.
And we're back on.
So they're these ones that they say, you know, click the button, we'll send you the 3 best agents. There's no cost for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Understand this. Agents are charged a fee for those leads, and it can be up to 50% of the commission. Okay. So they will send you likely the agents who have sold the most properties in your area, not specifically properties similar to yours. And also there's a lot of really good agents out there that don't even take on these leads because they don't need to pay for a lead. So if you're in an area where the best 3 agents don't even take on these leads, you're going to get referred agents 4, 5, and 6. Now, I think agents 4, 5, and 6 are not going to get you as much money as agents 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
They're better at their jobs for being the best 3 agents. So that's one. Second one's the no cost to the vendor. So you're not going to get an invoice from the company. They charge the agent, and that's fine. That's their business model. But if the best 3 agents are not taking these leads, you're not getting the best agents. One. Next one, you might find a good agent who will take on your business. But if their fee is, say, 2%, and they're paying between 30 and 50% fee, they're not going to offer you 2%. They're going to say it's 2.5% or even 3% because they're going to get you to pay for that referral fee or a portion of it. So it's going to cost you more in fees for getting a good agent. Had you contacted that agent directly, you're probably going to get a better fee off the bat. you will get agents that click on them and they'll say, yes, I'll take on your business and I won't charge an extra fee to cover the referral fee. Now, I think there's two types of agents you're going to get with that. One, you're going to get somebody who needs a listing, new, inexperienced, or somebody who's just not performing well. Do you really want the sale of your house in that person's hands? I would question that. The other one, and this is the one that people wouldn't understand unless you're in industry, you might get an agent who appears to be going really well. Yeah. And they'll come in and they'll say, yeah, I'll take on your lead and I won't charge you every extra commission. I'll bear the cost of that. I'll do you a favor. Okay. Think about it. If they're doing so well, why do they need to take on a property they're only going to earn half their normal salary? Why are they doing that? Here's why, I think. One, they've probably got 2 or 3 other properties similar to yours in the same price range.
Yep.
Where do you think the effort's going to go to sell the properties? Unlikely to be yours when they're taking less than their normal fee. It could be that they just take on your listing to get a listing, and you might think it's worth $1 million, but it might be only worth $1 million. They may not tell you that. They'll list it $1 million. Yeah. Then they'll take the buyers through the 3 houses that are asking $9 to $950, and then to yours at $1 million. The buyers will then go back. So you might be getting your listing to help them sell other properties as well.
God.
Could be.
Yeah.
It might sell. A buyer might fall out of the sky and they haven't done a lot of work on it, and they've earned half a fee, but okay, they haven't done much work for it. And really, do you know that they've got the best price then if they're not putting that much effort into it? Yeah, so they might be taking on your listing just to get marketing for themselves. It makes them appear that they're busier online, got another listing, great. So I'm not saying don't use them. They have their place. If you're living interstate or out of an area and you can't go and do that process of meeting them, it might be a solution for you. Just be wary of what can happen and what's involved in that as well. I actually, on the way here, I was running 5 minutes late. I got called into a property that's been on the market since December last year. They're out of authority, so it got me to come and look at it. They started out at 145. They're now down to 125. They haven't had an open in 8 weeks. I asked, where did you find that agent? They said, I won't name it, one of those. So that's exactly what happened. That agent's had that marketed and bought up and droppers and all there. They've wasted, they've done their day. And now I'll go and speak to them. I'll probably have to tell them, no, it's probably 1-1 to 1-2. I have to go and do some investigation. But at least they know they're going to get an agent then that will work on it at the right price. So I don't say don't use them. Just be warned of what's behind it.
I loved this conversation so much because you're so refreshing. You bring a very real and raw perspective to the real estate discussion. I think there's always bad apples in every industry, but the way you talk about, how to pick and how to select and making people aware of like the tools that exist, how to use those tools. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. I hope people get the benefit out of it. And obviously, if anyone's down in my area, feel free to give me a call. But it doesn't matter which area. And if you go through that process, you'll at least be comfortable with the decision you've made, that you've done your due diligence in a methodical way to make the decision that's going to be best for you.
100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of this one.
Good. So, I'm glad.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Of course. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in every week. We really appreciate all your support and guidance. And to those who want to connect with Paul, his details are on screen and in the show notes below. And like I always say, it costs nothing to have a chat. And if you're thinking about working with Paul, follow his investigation process and see where you land. That's a wrap for this episode of the No BS Real Estate Podcast, powered by Abode AI. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need it. If you're looking for more guidance on your home buying journey, you can visit www.abode.com.au for expert advice, property insights, and the tools you need to find the right home with confidence. If you're already on your journey, you can also download our app. Just search Abode AI on the App Store or Google Play. Have any questions or want to connect, you can follow us on Instagram at abode.com.au or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.